Hi, friends, and thank you for joining us today on Brave New Frontier, the podcast where we talk about the rise of the self made creator, the remote revolution, and new tools redefining how we work and how they have opened doors that never existed before. You can get in line and wait for someone to permit you in, or you can find your own freedom, your own way. Brave New Frontier is for the ones who refuse to be ignored, the ones who get knocked down and get back up smarter and stronger. Those of us being you, friends, those of us being me, and those of us being the lovely and amazing and wonderfully talented writer, SQ McGrath. Hi, Sarah. How are you doing today?
Good to see you.
Good. I'm glad. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Books, creative stuff, anything.
Definitely lots of books such as this beauty right here, Hilltop House. Now, you are a very prolific writer because tell me how many books you have published already.
Well, I've written 27. Some of them are kind of old, so they're not out there. So probably about 20 of them are out there. Yeah.
That is, again, prolific. Like I said, that's a number that I aspire to and dream of and am not even close to yet. So tell me a little bit about how you do so much writing. I mean, that is impressive, and I want to hear some tips.
Yeah, well, I'm a little old. So part of it's just that I've been writing for a super long time. I mean, I wrote my first book when I call it a book, but I was a senior in high school. And so that was my first like completed novella. And then since then, I've been writing one or two books a year. I did take a big old break kind of in the middle, thought I was done with writing. And then once COVID hit, I kind of needed something again. And so I got back into writing. And I think since then, I average about 2 books a year right now. And as far as how I do that, because people do ask me that, they're like, how do you have time? Because I do have a full-time job. I've got a family. I got stuff going on. But I don't know how I do it. I just kind of find little bits of time here and there. Like I wake up really early and I'll write for maybe 20 minutes. And then later in the day, I'll write a little more. And I do set some goals for myself. So like I have in my mind that I need to finish a book in 6 months, put out a chapter every 3 to 5 days. But probably what keeps me the most consistent is that I make my writing public. Like I post it online, and having that, the potential that someone out there could read it and be keeping up with it, that's really kept me consistent. So yeah, I don't know. Somehow it just kind of comes together. It's like a miracle.
You are the second author in 2 days who has said that. I am gathering the theory that none of us know how we do what we do. It just kind of happens. And it
True.
happens in an awesome way, which is, I hope, is encouraging to our listeners who are like, I feel like I need a way to do my project, to do my business, to do my creative thing. And all of us are just like, there's not a way. There is just your way.
Yeah, for sure. And I teach creative writing too. And, I tell my students that you hear a lot of writers that say things like you have to block out, an hour or whatever. And I'm like, there is no right way to do it. You just have to find the way that that's going to work for you. So, yeah.
Exactly. Because now tell me if you've heard this story, but I believe Agatha Christie, it was said that she wrote her first novel like sentence by sentence in between chores.
That could be true. I don't know, but
I tell that story
like,
all the time. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that sounds like me. That is kind of how I do it. A little bit
Okay,
here, a
good. At
little
least
bit
I'm
there.
not pulling something out of completely thin air.
No,
Because I tell that story every time, and every time I'm like, well, I'm not positive, and then I never Google it to make sure that what I'm saying is right. But I think the concept remains.
right to me though.
Okay, cool. So tell me a little bit about the kind of books that you write, because you sent me this beauty, and I am telling you, this is one of the best horror books, if not the best horror book I've ever read. Like
Thank you.
I had so much fun with this book. It hit me right where it needed to hit. It was so amazing. It was disturbing in the really good way that you want a horror book to be. And so tell me about, your genre, your style, how you found that.
Yeah, so it's changed a lot. I mean, when I first started writing, I was writing for kids, actually. And the first like 10 books I wrote were really aimed at like fifth, sixth, seventh graders. And then I kind of moved into young adult for just a little teensy bit. I don't write a ton of young adult, but I did a couple of trilogies in there, had fun. And then again, it was like around COVID time. And then there was some stuff that just kind of went on in my life that threw me for a loop, stuff related to my job. And I don't want to say I was in a dark place because it's not like that. But all of a sudden I was like, I just got to tap into some something a little deeper there. And so when I tell people I write horror, I feel like it misleads them because there's a lot of genres of horror, and I feel like people think it's going to be bloody and violent and gruesome, and that's not really the style of horror that I write. So I tell people that I like to just kind of disturb them a little bit, like I want you to
Yeah.
sit there and wonder, like, what's exactly happening here, and I feel kind of
Mhm.
yucky, and like, what is that,
Yeah.
so yeah, so hopefully the house, people say that about the house, like it kind of does that. When I look back at my older literature, when I wrote for kids, it wasn't all happy and joy. Like I was still writing ghost stories and things like that. So I've always loved the spooky. I guess when I started writing the past few years, I just kind of upped it a few notches to want to make it more appealing to adults and older readers. But yeah, like I was saying, the horror genre is so vast. And so I do feel sometimes like people just think it's all gross and violence. And it's really not. It's a lot more than that. So I have fun with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very emotional kind of a thing. It's not just gore and
Yeah.
slasher stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It's
that is,
very
those are genres, but that's not really my style. And yeah. So when people
exactly,
say
yours is more of
like I want to, I
sorry.
guess I like to dig a little bit into characters and like what they're going through as far as their shame, their regrets, their secrets, and then kind of reflect that in the horror aspect around them, so
Mhm.
yeah, but it's fun, I enjoy it.
And I love it. I myself prefer that genre because it feels more like, I don't know, a deeper level. Like it interests me and it impacts me and it almost feel like it involves me on another level, seeing these characters and that kind of bone deep kind of eerie suspense, the
Hmm.
spooky. So yeah, I love it. And so you were talking a little bit about how a lot of this came to be right around, or at least you hit your stride right around during the pandemic.
Hmm.
And so has there been anything about this kind of like post-pandemic work world, specifically with the online stuff? Like I think that was the major shift. But was there anything about that really either helped or hindered, or you had to change lanes, you had to change gears in reference to your writing?
I think the biggest change was that I finally kind of, and I don't know if this is because of the pandemic, but well, there was the fact that I started posting stuff online. I found online communities. So I've been writing for over 20 years. And when I first started writing and trying to get published, none of that existed. I mean, the internet was a baby, it's so weird to think about that. But there were no communities online. When I was trying to get published in the beginning, I would go to the library and actually check out reference books and try to find publishers and like snail mail everything. And so I think the biggest change is one of them is that everything is online now. And so by posting my own work, having the ability to do that, and then I started getting feedback from readers, and I eventually just thought, why am I trying so hard to get an agent or get published? I think I can do this on my own, and like all the tools are there now. So being able to, I mean, I self-publish everything. I make my own covers. I do all my own formatting. So whenever people say things like it's so much money to publish, I can't do this, and I think I literally don't spend a dime, nothing. I can do everything for free except buy my books. I have to pay for my own, like to get a physical
Yeah.
copy, but I don't pay anything. And I think that that's been the biggest change for me, is that I have found I can do this all by myself. And that's been really cool and freeing. So yeah, love it.
That is really exciting, and it's a really interesting angle to think about. I had always just thought about, online, now we could work in our pajamas and life was wonderful. But that's true that like during the pandemic when you were kind of in a way isolated and things were a little bit tight, it kind of really prompted some people to be like, okay, how can I get creative and how can I do this myself? And I would like to Google and see, how many of these how much indie publishing has grown since the pandemic. Like I wonder if it actually just spiked because people were like, look, I need something to do. I have this dream. I need something to like reach for during this time, but I'm all by myself. Indie. I'm going to do it. That's an interesting thing. Thank you for bringing that up. And so you were talking about your audience. You were talking about how you just started posting online and people started getting interested. I think one of the biggest challenges, and either it is one of the biggest challenges for everyone, or it's just a big challenge for me, and then I'm projecting onto everyone else. But finding your audience, whether it's a book or whether it's, I don't know, you make custom stickers or you make whatever you may be doing, whatever business venture it is, it seems like a really daunting task to find your people, to find your audience. So how did you approach that? How did you do that?
So I originally started posting my work on Wattpad, and I know Wattpad has kind of like a reputation whenever I tell people that, but like everything out there, Wattpad is a mixed bag. There's all kinds of stuff on there that you don't want to read, probably. And then there's all kinds of stuff that, you just find those hidden gems. So originally, I just started putting my stuff on there. And, you can put all these tags like horror. And then I would search for other horror authors. And I actually met probably my best, I call him my writing bestie. Like we kind of connected and we continue to this day to read all of each other's stuff. And so I just found communities on there that matched my interests and what I was writing, and we just give each other feedback. So that was huge. And then once I started putting my work out, like as far as on Amazon and publishing it, hard copies and all that, I will say it's a lot harder to find my audience to actually pay for my books and like want to read them. But about a year ago, no, maybe a year and a half, I don't know, I started promoting my work on socials and just reaching out to people. Hey, are you interested in reading this? Hey, I see you read horror. Or you want free copies, So that's been a big shift for me too, is putting my stuff on Wattpad was kind of like, okay, I'm making it public, but then also now trying to actually get my books into people's hands and getting into the social media world. That's been a challenge for me because I'm not a very social person. And I didn't even have socials until about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Like I was like, I'm just going to try this. And I'm still working on it. I mean, I don't know the perfect formula, but I mean, I met you. So, like I feel like I'm
Yeah.
finding people here and there and, my stuff isn't taking off, but who knows, maybe someday. But I do really appreciate everyone that takes a chance on my work, and just kind of connecting with other readers and writers has been so eye-opening for me, because again, I've been writing for 20 years and most of that was just me in a void by myself. So it's been so cool just to interact with people, and that's been really life-changing, frankly, for me.
That's really exciting. And it's probably, to me, it's really encouraging to hear that, there is that moment, particularly at the beginning, where you're trying to get people to buy your product, and that takes a minute, because I feel like, to our listeners, that they might be feeling discouraged because they've started their thing and it just doesn't feel like it's working, doesn't feel like it's taking off, and it's like, that's okay, that's part of it, that's part of the process. It's going to take some time, but you got to do what you love anyway.
Yeah. And I am in a good position where my income doesn't depend on this, right? So for me right now, it's just the joy that I get out of it. And if it ever goes anywhere, that's amazing. But I am at a place in my life where I can take those chances and not rely on finding readers. So at present, I'm just having a lot of fun with it. And yeah, so I'm just
And
interested
I
to see
think
where it
that's
goes.
I think that's a super important part that is really easy to forget. I mean, you have this passion that you want to do, whether it's books or sticker making or opening a restaurant or whatever it may be. And it starts out as this passion, but then you get so just buckled down on making it successful in a numerical way, making it successful that way, that it can kind of drain the life and joy out of it. And then it's just kind of a self-defeating cycle, because then if you're not enjoying it anymore, then it's not going to be successful. So I
Right.
love the fact that you have been able to keep just this enjoyment of it. This
Yeah. And I will say too, like I have experienced some downsides. I mean, way back when I actually almost had a book published. So traditionally, I mean, I was probably in my early 20s and one of my novels got picked up for publishing by an actual publisher. And I was over the moon. I thought I was going to, make it. And I was so excited. And then after a year, I was working with an editor. They actually just dropped the book for reasons, that were beyond my control. And that was a huge letdown for me. And so I continued to write, but then there was about 10 years where I didn't. I just stopped writing. And I thought, oh, my chance is gone. Like I had it and I lost it and it's gone. And I just kind of stopped. And then as I was saying, once the pandemic kind of hit, I really started getting back into it. And I really look back at that and I think I had to overcome that hurdle of thinking in my brain that this was the only way to do it. Like I missed my traditional publishing thing. My passion is, it's gone, whatever. So I think overcoming that hurdle and realizing like I can still do this and love it and not rely on that goal that I set and thought I had to meet. So it was hard for me at the time, but looking back, I think it was actually for the best, because right now I feel like I'm writing the best I've ever written, and that could just be in my head, but that's how I feel.
Well,
So,
it looks like the best someone could ever write.
well, thanks. It's just very freeing to not have that goal that I had to meet that traditional publishing goal. Like, I like that I could free myself from that. So,
I love
yeah.
that you bring that up because it is really freeing to just have the ability to pivot because it's so easy to get stuck in this idea of I have to do this thing this way.
Hmm.
Whereas, when the opportunity arises, it's like, all right, well, let me try this other way. It's like I would say, okay, God's guiding me toward the end this way, not this way. And so just being
Hmm.
able to roll with it, just pivot. It's like, okay, now I can do this. And you're right, it is super, super freeing because then you're not trying to manhandle every factor in the universe.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
rolling with it and it still gets you where you need to go. It's like you're using that momentum to get you where you need to go.
Yeah. And part of that, I think, comes from just being older and having experience in my life, and also teaching. I've been teaching for 20 years, and that is the sort of job where you're constantly pivoting, constantly changing. Things never go as planned. I mean,
Never
like,
a
on a
dull
daily
moment.
basis. So I think just having some perspective, having spent 20 years since that time, and also just getting older and realizing that life is short, and I'm not going to spend it sitting here stressing about I didn't do that thing I wanted to do. Like, so what? Make it work for you. So, yeah, I'm just at a good place in my life, I think, with that, being able to look back and see what was wrong about my mindset, and have a clearer vision now. So, yeah, it's helped. There are good things about getting older. So,
That's awesome. That is so awesome to hear. And so, honestly, I just want to hear all the last thing I want to hear. Well, not the last thing. I want to hear a thousand more things from you. But
that's all right.
unfortunately, this podcast has to remain short, and I don't want to take up the last day of your spring break. So, is there anything that you'd like to leave us with? Any last thoughts? Any advice? Any funny stories? Anything? Or not? You don't have to.
I wish I had some funny stories, but, those are the kind of things you can't remember on the spur of the moment. But I guess, just I think you just have to love what you're doing. If there ever came a moment where writing to me became a chore, I think I would say it's not worth it to me. And I see a lot of writers post things like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. It's so difficult. Why is editing taking me 5 years? I'm like, don't let it. Just, I mean, again, life is short. If this is a passion, if it's something you love, keep loving it. And when you reach a point where you don't love it, that's okay. Let it go and find something else. If you don't love it, I just, yeah, I guess find the joy and roll with it. There you go.
It's great. Yeah. Yeah, 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 because if you love it, even those struggle moments where you have to persevere, it's still like a loving perseverance. It's still a loving
Hmm.
struggle.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, that is wonderful and I can't wait to apply it. Like every time I get on one of these interviews, I'm like, I have so much good stuff to now use in my own life. So thank you so much, Sarah. This has been amazing. Dear listeners, we have been Gabi Batel and the amazing SQ McGrath, author of Hilltop House and So Meant 2020 other amazing books. Thank you so much for being here today. If you enjoyed this video, you are going to super enjoy our past ones. We just had a recent one with the wonderful and amazing Autumn Krause, another dark fantasy author.
Ooh.
So if you're in the author mood, that's another one to check out. If you are just in the creator mood, just go check out our entire podcast list. We have so many amazing things. We have so many tips and tricks and life stories from so many amazing creators who have done amazing things like SQ McGrath. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you again, Sarah, for being here today. And have a great day. God bless and stay creative. Bye bye.